Africa,
a continent larger than the United States, China, India, and most of Europe combined, a land containing over 1.4 billion people.
more gold, diamonds, cobalt, uranium, lithium, and natural resources than almost any wheels on Earth,
A continent so rich,
that global superpowers have spent centuries fighting for influence over it.
but despite all this wealth, Africa is still too often viewed through the lens of poverty, conflict, and struggle. Why? Because Africa's power has always been divided. 50 for nations, 50 for governments,
54 separate economies.
but what if that changed?
What if every African nation united into one superstate, one military,
One economy,
one currency?
one global vision.
Would it become richer than America?
Could it challenge China? Would Europe lose its influence?
Could a united Africa become the most powerful force on Earth? Today,
We explore a future that could completely reshape the world order.
this is
Nations Showdown. The first thing that makes a united Africa terrifyingly powerful
is its population. Africa is home to more than 1.4 billion people.
that already makes it one of the largest populations on Earth. But here's what changes everything.
Africa is young, extremely young.
While Europe, Japan, and even China are facing aging populations and shrinking workforces, Africa is exploding with youth.
By 2050, 1 out of every 4 people on Earth could be African. Think about that. 1/4 of humanity. That means workers, innovators, soldiers,
Entrepreneurs, consumers,
builders, creators.
and unlike many developed countries struggling with population decline, Africa's growth is unlike-beginning.
Cities like Lagos, Cairo, Kinshasa, Nairobi, Johannesburg, and Addis Ababa are growing at astonishing speed. Entire mega-cities are rising before the eyes of the world, and if these populations were connected by strong infrastructure, stable leadership, and continental cooperation, the economic impact would be enormous.
Because population alone is not power.
Organized population is power. China proved that. India is proving it.
And Africa may one day prove it on an even larger scale.
But population is only the beginning.
Because beneath Africa's soil lies something even more powerful. Resources. The entire modern world desperately depends on.
Every smartphone, every electric vehicle,
Every military drone.
every advanced battery, every modern economy.
All depend on minerals.
And many of those minerals come from Africa. The Democratic Republic of Congo produces much of the world's cobalt. South Africa possesses enormous reserves of gold and platinum. Nigeria and Angola contain vast oil wells.
Zimbabwe holds massive lithium deposits.
Namibia has uranium. Botswana has diamonds.
Guinea contains some of the world's richest bauxite reserves.
And across the continent, untapped natural wealth remains buried underground.
Now imagine all of those resources were strategically managed under one united economic system.
One continental supply chain, one industrial vision.
Instead of exporting raw materials cheaply, Africa could manufacture its own products, its own batteries, its own electronics, its own vehicles, its own military technology. For centuries, many foreign powers extracted African resources while processing them elsewhere.
But a united Africa could change the balance completely.
Because the future global economy is built on energy, rare minerals, and technology, and Africa already possesses the raw ingredients for all three.
But wealth alone does not guarantee power.
To truly challenge the world's strongest nations,
Africa would need military strength, and that possibility is far more serious than many people realize.
imagine a single African military command.
Combined manpower from 54 nations, combined naval fleets, combined air forces, combined intelligence systems, combined defense industries. The numbers alone would shock the world. Africa's population base could support one of the largest militaries on Earth, and geography makes the continent strategically priceless.
Africa controls access to critical global trade routes.
The Suez Canal, the Red Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, Mediterranean access, southern shipping routes. Global commerce literally moves around Africa every single day.
Now imagine one united power controlling that strategic position.
Global military alliances would immediately change.
The United States would pay attention.
China would pay attention.
Russia would pay attention.
Europe would definitely pay attention.
And beyond traditional warfare,
Modern military power also means cyber warfare, satellite systems, drones, artificial intelligence, and energy dominance. If Africa invested heavily into science and defense innovation, it could become one of the most strategically important powers of the 21st century.
But military strength depends on economic strength.
And that brings us to the most important question. Could a united Africa actually become rich enough to compete with the world's economic giants? Right now, Africa's combined economy is already worth trillions of dollars, but the real potential is much bigger.
One of Africa's greatest weaknesses today is fragmentation.
Different currencies,
Different trade systems, different regulations.
different infrastructure standards. This slows growth.
It slows investment, and it limits continental trade. But if Africa became economically unified,
Everything changes. Goods could move faster. Trade barriers could disappear. Massive rail systems could connect countries.
energy grids could power entire regions. Manufacturing hubs could rise across the continent.
Ports could become global logistics centers. And suddenly, Africa would stop being viewed as merely a supplier of raw materials.
It would become an industrial giant. China once transformed itself from a poor developing nation into a manufacturing superpower within decades.
South Korea did it. Singapore did it.
The Gulf states transformed themselves using energy wealth, so the idea of economic transformation is not fantasy.
It has happened before.
And Africa possesses something many of those countries never had:
Scale. Massive scale.
land,
Population.
natural resources,
Agriculture. Energy.
strategic geography. If coordinated effectively, Africa could become one of the largest consumer markets on Earth, and companies around the world would compete aggressively for access.
But the future global economy will not only depend on oil and factories.
It will depend on technology. And surprisingly, Africa may already be preparing for that future. When many people think of technology, they think of Silicon Valley,
China. Japan. South Korea.
but Africa's technology rise has quietly been accelerating.
Across the continent, startups are growing rapidly. Mobile banking transformed financial systems in countries where traditional banks struggled to reach people.
Fintech companies are expanding, digital payments are spreading. Young programmers, engineers, and entrepreneurs are building solutions for millions.
Countries like Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt, Rwanda, and South Africa are becoming technology hubs.
And Africa has one major advantage: it can leapfrog old systems, instead of spending decades upgrading outdated infrastructure.
Many African nations move directly into mobile technology, directly into digital banking, directly into renewable energy projects, directly into smart technology. Now imagine this innovation multiplied across an entire united continent. A shared digital market, shared infrastructure, shared research institutions,
Shared satellite programs,
shared AI development. Suddenly, Africa stops being viewed as the future, it becomes the present. But every superpower faces one critical challenge:
internal stability.
and this is where the dream of a united Africa becomes far more complicated, because power is not built by resources alone.
History proves this.
Some countries with massive natural wealth remain poor. Others with almost no resources became global powers.
Why? Leadership,
Institutions,
stability,
vision,
and Africa still faces major challenges.
corruption, political instability,
Border disputes,
infrastructure gaps, economic inequality,
foreign interference,
debt.
ethnic tensions, security threats.
These are not small problems.
And uniting 54 nations with different histories, languages, political systems, and interests would be incredibly difficult. Europe struggles with unity even today.
And Africa is even more diverse. Some leaders may refuse to surrender power. Some economies may develop faster than others. Some populations may fear losing national identity, and external powers may resist the rise of a fully independent African superstate.
When we regained our independence, or even before, we were told that our names were not good. So that when you are Christianized and you are Pipim and you went for baptism and you renounced the devil with all his works, they also said you have to be John, because in their scheme of things it appears that the heavens only recognize John, not Pipim. We were told that all the education we had acquired meant nothing. So that if you are eloquent in Ga or in Twi, you are not intelligent. You are only intelligent in English. You can only be intelligent in French, in Portuguese. We now know that that is nonsense.
Global power is competitive, and a united Africa would dramatically shift global influence. But despite all these challenges,
The possibility remains real.
because history changes,
Empires rise,
empires fall.
and the world order never stays the same forever. So, what if Africa united into one superpower? Would it instantly dominate the world? Probably not. Would it face enormous political and economic challenges? Absolutely.
But could it become one of the most powerful forces on Earth over time?
Without question.
Because Africa already possesses many of the ingredients required for global dominance.
Population,
Resources,
geography, energy, culture,
youth.
potential.
The real question is not whether Africa has power. The real question is whether Africa can organize that power. Because if it ever does,
The balance of the world could change forever, and the 21st century may one day be remembered as the century Africa finally rose. What do you think?
could Africa become the next global superpower?
Or are the challenges simply too great? Comment below. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to Nations Showdown for more powerful global comparisons, military analysis, and future world scenarios.
And remember,
The next superpower may already be rising.